from different places, we all have different names. No matter what life brings us, Jesus is the same. We're just your Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness. Hi,
I'm Beth.
I'm Tim.
I'm Jessica, and we're just your everyday
Methodist to the madness.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Thanks for coming to our podcast, you guys, or however podcasts work.
Welcome. Oh, those in front, please sit down.
Silence your cell phones unless you're listening to this on your cell phone.
Yeah.
Which most people are probably.
Yeah. Well, we're halfway through January. January tends to be the longest month of the year. So
yes.
I think
Quick this
it does. It does feel quick.
Yeah.
So I feel like so far things are going pretty well. I'll just give you a quick update this past week. Tim,
Great.
You mentioned before we started that you weren't able to attend church yesterday. And I don't know what happened. The last time I experienced this, I was like on my way out of the military. I woke up at like 2 a.m. and could not go back to bed. Like
Really?
I literally was just wide awake. And if you guys have ever experienced where like you can't go back to bed and you're just so frustrated and you're like, you kind of want to cry because you're so tired and you can't go back to bed.
Yeah.
So I ended up kind of like laying around, and then I started playing a game on my phone to try to like make me go to bed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't continue doing this. It was like 4 a.m. and then it was all of a sudden it was 5:30, and I'm like, well, I'm going to go ahead and take care of the animals outside and start the morning. And so took care of all the animals, came back inside and fed the dogs, took care of the animals inside. And like, it was like 6:15. And I'm like, I don't know how this is. And so I like took this medicine. It's kind of like melatonin. And I'm like, okay, I have to go to bed. And I think it was like by 7 or something. I ended up going to bed, and I didn't wake up until 11:45 or something. I don't know what time it was, but it was into the afternoon. And I was like, okay, I guess we're not going to be attending church today. But it was,
right.
I had not experienced that in a really long time.
Right.
And so anyways, that was one thing that happened. Another thing is last Tuesday, we went to Disneyland. We love going to Disneyland at least once a month. We try.
Wow.
And it was way busier than we expected. It was, Tuesday the 9th. And I was like, okay, all their Christmas stuff should probably be down, like holiday stuff, and we're hoping maybe they're setting stuff up for Mardi Gras. And we got there and it was like, there was holiday stuff still up, which was crazy because we weren't expecting that. And then there were so many people there. Yeah, it was crazy. But anyways, we enjoyed ourselves. We love eating at Tiana's. It's more of like a Southern Louisiana style food. Anyways, Amber usually gets the muffaletta, but I think we've just been trying to focus on like more positive things.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And she kind of went down the rabbit hole of alternative options for like donors and stuff. And we're exploring an option, and it's a little bit more cost effective for us. And so who knows, maybe good things to come in January for us in terms of like next steps for part 2 of Baby Planning 101. So that's kind of how this past week has been for me, though. But
I was gonna ask if John Stamos was going to be your donor, but then you said it was more cost effective. So then I thought probably not. John
Yeah. Yeah, more cost effective. That's more like Pauly Shore. Something
No. What are those things that they do? The celebrities, like you can buy like they're like birthday telegrams. I can't remember what they're actually called, but you can like pay money and they'll like, you can just send them like a little information like, hey, it's my friend's birthday and they're graduating from blah, blah, blah.
I don't remember what those things are called.
What those are called, but wouldn't it be cool if, or weird? It would be weird if they had those for like sperm donors. Like you could just get Pauly Shore's. Anyway, sorry, I do sure again, but it was worth it, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know who those people are that you mentioned, Beth.
Oh my gosh, you don't know?
Oh my goodness. Tim's a little.
This is another one of those things.
Tim's a little young, precious baby. Oh, that's precious.
Oh my gosh, Tim.
You can look it up later.
Yes. Yes, please.
Wait, you don't know who John Stamos is?
No.
Oh, I thought everybody knew who John Stamos is.
Yeah. Have you seen Full House?
No.
Or Fuller House?
Oh my gosh. Do you know who the Olsen twins are?
Yes, but I don't know their names.
What?
Mary Kate and Ashley.
Oh, Mary Kate and Ashley.
Yeah.
Okay, right, right.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Okay.
So many. Oh my gosh. So many things are happening right now.
Hey, I know like big name actors like Ryan Gosling
is a big name actor. Well, he was. I guess we're old now, Jessica.
No, I'm just
so
I just live under a rock like all the time, you know.
Have you watched there's an internet show, I don't know if it still exists, but it's called Under a Rock with Tig Notaro.
Really?
Yeah. And she doesn't do it anymore, but it's so funny. Actually, I don't know if she still does, but I'm confident she doesn't. I'm like 100%, 60% sure.
Yeah, same.
100%, 60%.
That's bad.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway.
That's great. That's a great update, Jessica, by the way. That's really good that you went to Disneyland, and that's interesting that they still had the holiday thing going on, and there were so many people there on a Tuesday of all days. I mean,
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But what have you guys been up to, though?
Tim, you go.
So let's see here. Speaking of positivity, that I think we're a bit in sync, Jessica, because there was a point in my week last week where I was a little bit bummed out, and I'm like, oh, I have all these things to do at work and everything. But then at some point I realized that being positive or having positive thoughts will influence my feelings about all the things that I need to do. And if I feel good about everything that I'm doing, then I'll probably make better decisions. And so that was definitely helpful. That kind of carried me through a significant portion of my week last week. But then I guess I had a really off day. I don't know, maybe I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed or something like that. And the whole positive thinking thing was just not working. So I ended up coming up with an even better insight than that. I mean, basically optimism and positive thinking are extremely powerful, and I highly recommend it. And I'm still going to continue to do that. But there's a second part of that. And that's that sometimes, or maybe lots of times, I get caught up in my own thoughts all the time, whereby I don't actually like do anything. Like I don't make a decision to do something. I don't like carry out some particular action or something like that. And so I'm not sure what allowed me to realize this, but basically sometimes it's important to just basically go in and do something after you thought about it for just a few minutes. Like, don't think about it any more than that. Like, you take your initial impression about what you're going to do, and then just like roll with it. Kind of like how the whole like Nike what is it? Just do it, kind of thing. Yeah.
Let's do it.
I guess I'm really going at it from that perspective. Because otherwise I think I'm just a little bit too caught up in my thoughts and feelings. And then I end up aimless or anxious or sad or bored or all of the above, basically. So it's been an interesting like whirlwind of insight for me this week. And today was interesting because I don't know, this morning, like sometimes I just sort of internet surf and stuff like that. And I'm trying to quit that habit because it doesn't always help. But I guess today it did help because eventually I started like looking up informative YouTube videos, not a particularly novel one, I would say, but just got me thinking like, oh, maybe I should be kind of encouraging myself to go for like more intellectually like engaging kind of material, whether it's videos or like even like games that challenge me or something like that. But then I happen to have this book that my coworker friend recommended and let me borrow called Speaker for the Dead. And then I started reading that book a little bit. And then I'm like, you know what? I need to be spending more time reading and writing. And so it was like an epiphany or something like this morning. Like I can be doing that and I can be benefiting my mind as well as having like an immersive, entertaining kind of experience. But then in being so enthusiastic about Speaker for the Dead, I accidentally looked up something on Wikipedia that spoiled something in the book, and that wasn't good. However, maybe spoilers are okay because it's kind of made me more interested in the overall series because I kind of want to find out how that spoiler even took place.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my week, basically. It's been interesting, but I can add that to my New Year's resolution, I think, to really start reading more and writing more. The journaling thing is for the writing, but now I kind of have like a goal to like do both. And I think that's really cool.
That's cool. Beth?
Yes. So in addition to getting my voice back kind of.
Oh, that's great.
Literally and maybe figuratively, I'll figure how to work that in later.
Figure skating.
Yes. I've been trying. I think I'm mostly over being sick. I still have like a nose that runs like a leaky faucet and the occasional still a little bit of coughing, but for the most part I'm feeling better and I'm trying to like get back into regular life. Jonah went back to school last week and Owen goes back to school tomorrow. So I feel like tomorrow is really going to be when I really start like trying to get into the routine of things. I have it in my mind that instead of waking up Owen at 7:00 and then coming downstairs and napping on the couch until 8:00 when it's time to take him to school, what I would like to see happen is I still wake up Owen at 7:00, but then I will do some sort of devotional or journaling at 7. And then I'd like to take the dogs for a walk at 7:30. And we have an Australian Shepherd and she is very high energy and she barks at us a lot if she's not being stimulated enough. And so she's pretty much barking at us all the time. So I want to really try to make sure that she's getting what she needs physically and mentally because she deserves to have, good routines too. So I'm hoping I want to start with the walk at 7:30, but I'm hoping that maybe eventually I can add like an evening or afternoon walk too. So I'm going to start, hopefully get that going. And I actually feel good enough, like health-wise, to start tomorrow too. Mm-hmm. And then I started we had auditions for the SpongeBob musical. There was one day last week that I didn't make it to, but I went to the auditions on, I think they were on Thursday and Friday. I wasn't auditioning. I was just watching other people audition, and I'm going to be doing the props for them again. And I think it's going to be really fun.
That's going to be an expensive prop thing to fill the whole field with water.
I know. But actually, I just thought of this. I've already decided that the theme for VBS this year is going to be scuba themed. So maybe anything that, they don't keep for the SpongeBob musical, I could either use or borrow it. So that's cool too, I guess.
Yeah.
So the cast has been announced, and we actually went, some of us theater people. I don't consider myself a theater person because I just like to hang out with those guys. And
you're totally a theater person, Beth.
I did my one show, and now I just get to sit at the table and crack the jokes as I think about what props I'm going to make. But
just tell people that you're in retirement from theater.
I'm okay. Yes, I'm in retirement. I don't do that anymore. Just kidding.
Yeah.
But we went to go see Mean Girls, the musical, on Saturday.
Really?
Yeah. And it was really good. It was, I did tell them that I thought the one thing that was missing from the original Mean Girls was music. And but then I looked at the age of the cast. I looked up all the cast when I got home, and all of the young people that are in that movie were born in 2000 or later, and my brain was having a really hard time
computing that,
processing that. Yeah. And there's a cape that Patrick wears in the SpongeBob musical that I originally decided it was going to be too much work for me to make. But then I was looking at it, and it's a crocheted cape, and it's beautiful. And I was like, no, I think I need to make this cape. So today I went and bought all the yarn for that. And I have until May, which means I need to start on it now so I can procrastinate a little bit until May.
Yeah.
But I was telling the gang, you guys are the gang right now.
Yeah.
Before the podcast. Actually, Tim, I don't think you were here, but I was telling Jessica, the one person gang, that I haven't crocheted anything since October, just because I don't know. I think I got burnt out on it, and I was like, I'm just taking a break. But then Jessica, a week or two ago, asked me if I could crochet her these really cute chicken coasters. And so I made her.
Wow.
They're so cute.
8 of them. I was able to find 8 different colors of yarn to make for chickens. And so I was hoping that by making Jessica these coasters, that it would kind of jumpstart my love and my wanting to crochet again. And I think it has. So
that's nice.
Jessica. Wow. I've also been, for the listeners, I've also been telling Jessica that sometimes crochet stops being fun for me if it turns into a job. So I do, if people commission me to make things for them, I do say no a lot. So if I'm going to have 1 million people coming up to me wanting me to crochet stuff, I'm going to be saying no a lot, because I'll also be up to my elbows in Patrick's cape for the SpongeBob musical. Just that. But if anybody ever wants to, I don't know, come to the quilting group where Shawl Ministry is also involved, I would love to teach anybody how to crochet if they're up for it. So
I think that Amber and I need to learn.
Yeah, you guys should totally come.
Yeah, I need to as well. And I keep not coming when I said that I was going to. So
yeah, I think you need to go first, Tim, because you're a little behind. They still have the muffins out for you.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we can tell if that's blueberries or mold. And they were lemon muffins when they were first purchased. I'm just kidding. There's that dude. But
those muffins just don't age. It's kind of like other restaurant food that doesn't age.
McDonald's, yeah.
Yep, they're McDonald's muffins, so those don't age. So yeah, that's what's going on in my life.
Nice.
Cool. Hey,
Sounds like you had some fun.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And there's two things I want to mention. The first is, Beth, you saw Mean Girls. I also saw Mean Girls. I saw it on Saturday. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
When did you go?
I don't remember. Was it Friday?
Oh, we went on Saturday at 7:30.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, I went, I think Friday at 4:50.
Okay.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really interesting how like the character development was sort of like fleshed out more for all the characters other than Katie, basically. So I think that added like an extra enjoyment to it, as well as the musical part. So for anybody that enjoys the Mean Girls from 2004, Beth and I enjoyed it. So go for the 2024 version. It's an enjoyable musical experience.
I forgot to mention this, but I was looking at my memories on Facebook the other day, or I think it was what's today? Oh, it was yesterday. Apparently I had gone to the Mean Girls musical at the Pantages 1 year ago yesterday.
What? Wow.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Wow.
I remember I saw it. I went with Miriam. I don't remember what day it was. It might have been 2 years after COVID. Like, I've lost all track of the years, and I'm like, this was before COVID. This was after COVID. But yeah, it was only a year ago yesterday.
Hey, don't forget in the last at some point in the last episode in our podcast, we were talking about like 3 p.m. versus 3 a.m. and we don't really know the difference. So yeah, COVID just kind of skewed time in general for everyone.
I felt that way on Sunday morning. I didn't know.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, go for it.
I wanted to give some updates that are happening at the church. One, I don't know if you guys, Beth, maybe you've got more information, but I'm excited for the to be determined information about the new church area space.
Oh,
yes, that's right.
Yeah, the whole like clincher, like when you watch the end of a series and you're like, wait, what? And then it's
like
over.
Lost. No, I won't be disappointed. I don't think. Yeah, we kind of talked about it a little bit at our ad council meeting on Monday, and we were encouraged to join the next day on Zoom to get more information about it, but I wasn't available to do that. So,
oh my gosh, you could have had all the information, Beth.
I know. I just want to add more to the mystery. But really, because I don't want to accidentally say something because I misremembered what they were talking about.
Or if you accidentally signed a non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might have.
And then
I was sworn to secrecy. I wasn't. I just have a terrible memory.
Well, a couple other things are happening at the church. More of reminders. These are more so save the dates. For elementary and high school students, February 17th until the 19th, it's winter camp at Camp Wrightwood. And for all those ladies out there who are jelly about going to Camp Wrightwood, April 26th through the 28th is the women's retreat at Camp Wrightwood. So save the dates for those. And in terms of the Ignite Youth Ministries, we will be returning on January 21st that evening, 4:30. So be there or be at your house. Hopefully you'll be there.
No other locations are acceptable, though.
No. One might have more people and snacks. Uh, unless you have a full fridge and a large family, then these are all conflicting. So yeah, just a lot of stuff happening. And Kids Club Wednesday 5:30. Food for Thought, that is happening on Wednesday as well. Thereafter at 6:00. Come hang out with us. A lot of fun stuff happening. So
there will not be Kids Club this Wednesday because it's only the 2nd, which is the 17th. It's only the 2nd.
Oh, that's right, because they're switching. Yeah.
I'm switching.
Yeah.
And also another thing I would like to add is we're going to be having Messy Church on Sunday, February 11th from 5 to 7 p.m.
Oh, yay. That's awesome.
And we've done Lent in Messy Churches like the last couple years. I think we did the escape rooms both years. And so this year I kind of really just pushed for doing one about love. I know that Lent is important too, but also so is love. So I haven't planned the specifics for that one yet, but I'm really excited to do a Messy Church about love. And I was thinking about the Lady and the Tramp movie when they share the meatball and they slurp the spaghetti and it's the same strand. So we're going to be having spaghetti and meatballs just because that's what love is to me. And I just decided this today. And
nice. Will there be garlic bread?
Yes. Funny story about Messy Church. I think the first one that Lourdes and I planned together, and it was the first one we were going to have dinner again after COVID. We were serving spaghetti and meatballs, and we were going to serve garlic bread with it, but we didn't know how to work the oven. So I was like, we'll just get French bread and they can put butter on it. But now I know how to work the oven. I'm not scared of it anymore. So yes, we can absolutely have French bread this time.
You hear that? I'm not scared of you anymore. What's that from?
I don't know.
Home Alone.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I even saw part of Home Alone, and I guess I missed that scene.
Wait, you only saw part of?
Yes. Yeah, I fell asleep before I was able to finish the movie like a couple of months ago.
Have you ever seen the full movie?
Yes.
Okay.
I forgot basically the whole thing, except for the fact that the little kid was being helpful and like preventing those bad guys from creating a problem.
Yes, the kid who was left at home was very helpful.
Yes.
In preventing the bad guys from creating a problem. Yes.
Yes.
The plot of that movie.
What's the synopsis of this film? There is a small child who prevents these people from creating a problem.
This is probably the most vague way that I could explain.
Oh, this will definitely win some awards.
It's really funny actually, because just earlier today I was talking to my mom and I was trying to explain what Speaker for the Dead was about. And I told her that I hadn't read the book yet. I just read some of the introduction, but I came up with just some completely off the wall like summary that pretty much didn't make a lot of sense. And I might as well have just come from a 12-year-old or something like that.
It's probably the same plot as Home Alone.
Yeah, same kind of synopsis for Home Alone. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Except maybe it's not a kid, but it's somebody who is preventing somebody else from creating a problem.
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yep.
That'd be a cool movie for sure.
Yeah. I would be putting my purchase in for tickets right away as soon as it comes out.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna go into Beth's ministry moment where Beth is gonna share a ministry that is that has changed her life in the past 2 years.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be honest. None of the ministries have changed my life. I'm just kidding. let's talk about the children's ministry again.
Yay!
And how I need more volunteers for Sunday school. If anybody is looking for something to do at 11 o'clock and they want to be in church, but they don't want to be in church. Just kidding. But yeah, I have Sunday school at 11 o'clock and I could use some Sunday school helpers if anybody is interested.
Yeah, and if you are interested, please be sure to contact Beth at.
I'm going to give you children@pumchurch.com because that's the one I can remember in my brain.
Perfect. That way you can let her know that you are interested in helping her with the Sunday Children's Ministry. I'm glad you highlighted that ministry for today, Beth. That was
Yeah, and for anyone who has not volunteered for Sunday school, I'd say that it's a really enriching experience. I did get the opportunity to volunteer for Sunday school once. I think I was being social that day, and it just kind of worked out for me to help out for a little while. And it was just nice being around all the little kids. And Beth really does an excellent job with just bringing the kids to have appreciation for what she's talking about. And I don't think you have to be an expert with kids to volunteer for Sunday school. I'm sure that Beth will find something for you to do to be helpful. So yeah, I really enjoyed it when I was able to help out one time.
It's really about, you don't have to teach the lessons or anything, but legally we are required to have two bodies in there and alive human adult bodies.
Not a zombie.
Not a zombie. So yeah, you can contribute as little or as much as you want to when you help me. Don't think you have to run Sunday school on your own or anything.
Yeah.
One thing I was trying to do is imagine Tim reading the review he wrote on Beth's children's ministry experience. Everything he said was written out and it was 4.5 stars.
Would help again.
I'm glad that
I would recommend
this. Jessica, I'm so glad you didn't say something about how my review would consist of Beth and children and a volunteer come together to solve a problem.
Well, that's pretty much what happens as well.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Instead, it becomes a group of people trying to prevent a little kid from creating a problem.
Right. It's actually what it is. Yeah.
It's the other way around.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So,
well, speaking of not creating a problem, Pastor Jim went into the second part of New Beginnings, the sermon series that we've got going on. And I was there were a few things that I took away from this particular sermon. But I'm curious what I want to hear from you guys first. I always like to hear what you guys say first.
So you can piggyback on us and then say same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to do. Yeah.
No. I have a couple of takeaways, unless you want to go first, Beth.
No, you go right ahead.
Okay. So, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is the idea that we, in Pastor Jim's sermon, he put a big spotlight on being yourself and not someone else. So you have Joshua and Moses. Moses set such a great example for Israel, and how could Joshua live up to that? But then Joshua performed a different role that was not so, you couldn't say equally important, but important in a different equal kind of way. And that didn't come out right, but I'm just going to roll with it. But yeah, I think it's really therapeutic to think that we want to present ourselves to others as ourselves. And we don't want to try to copy someone else, because I don't think it would actually work very well. I think we'll do a much better job just performing the role that we are made to perform, which is to just express ourselves freely. Like for me to say, I am Tim, like people will believe that. But if I say I am Jessica or I am Beth, there might be a problem. But yeah, that was a really great thing. And it's a really important reminder that we want to try to be authentic to ourselves. And then people will notice that that we're presenting ourselves that way, I think. And people will feel more comfortable with us, and they'll feel encouraged to express themselves as well. So it's like nobody is trying to copy each other and everything like that. And it's just a really good experience. The next thing was something that kind of hits close to home, and it kind of reminds me of something that Pastor John was saying in the first sermon. And that's Pastor Jim was basically bringing up how with the Canaanite situation that Joshua was sort of leading, it could be a little bit controversial and problematic to recognize in terms of like a full-on historical perspective, and looking at it as basically historical literature kind of illuminates maybe a better understanding as to why it was as detailed as it was in regards to God's instructions to Joshua. And I think that hits close to home for me, because for my faith, it's been a really important thing for me to come up with an answer for scripture in general. And sometimes that basically means thinking outside of the box for a particular passage, and just kind of having my own viewpoint on it, and feeling encouraged about that. And so that's something that was interesting. I thought that was fascinating, and that does provide a lot of clarity. And I thought it was interesting how the authors, or there were authors that Pastor Jim was citing that mentioned that part in the Bible was written many years after. So that kind of provides some sense of clarity for that.
Yeah.
So so those are my two big ones. There might be some other stuff, but I'm curious what you two think, or if you want to expand on what I mentioned.
What you wrote,
Jess? We will not respond, Tim.
No response.
No comment.
No comment. Yep, and we're done.
Thanks for listening. You can turn your cell phones back on now.
Yes. One thing that I wish they would have said more of was be strong and courageous.
Oh, yes, indeed.
I felt like that was such an important use of those words. I thought they could use it more. But no, I mean, I think this past, Sunday's sermon was a really good reminder for me in particular, just to continue to, be strong
and courageous.
Well, I'm trying to think of when I think of courageous, I think of people finishing the finish line after running a really long race. That was a courageous fight. And I don't know, maybe life is tough, so it continue to be courageous as you pay way too much for gas and way too much for your groceries, I guess. But I think it's more so to be strong and remembering to remain in the word. There was a quote that was shared in the sermon by Thomas G. Long from The Witness of Preaching. And Thomas says, "We go to scripture then, not to glean a set of facts about God or the faith that can be announced whenever and wherever, but to encounter a presence, to hear God's voice speaking to us ever anew, calling us in the midst of the situations in which we find ourselves to be God's faithful people." And it's like, that is totally, like, I haven't read the Bible in probably a week, since all of this newness in my life in terms of like information and things that we found out. It's been really hard to get back into the word and be like, I trust you, like all these things. But it's like, it was a reminder of continue to be in his presence. And because that's what it brings is, this feeling of, okay, this is where my life is at. There's this connection that happens when you're reading through the word. And, I think there was something else that was mentioned in order for us to be who God has called us to be, we need to make scripture a priority in our lives.
Right.
And then it was, God called him to be faithful and obedient to scripture. I think those are, just constant reminders all together there, just remaining in scripture, continue to seek that presence and following where God is leading you, and be strong and courageous in knowing that God has made you on this earth for a reason. And maybe like how Moses lived their life, maybe it could be how Joshua has lived their life, but we are here on earth to complete our servanthood, of who are we and what is God calling us to be?
Yeah, absolutely. Briefly, I wanted to mention that I like how strong and courageous was mentioned 3 times. And I wonder if that was a total number of times that it was mentioned, because the resurrection of Jesus was 3 days, right? And so like numbers are really significant in the Bible. And so I'm curious about if there was intentionality behind God mentioning that 3 times. But something else that I wanted to mention is, like this whole passage with Joshua actually reminded me of how important it is for us to trust God. And I think that was an insight I had last week that I had forgotten to mention. It really helps to basically have something in mind that we want to do, and then afterwards start doing it, and then trust God. God will help you along the path. So that's what the strong and courageous reminded me of.
I was just looking up how many times they said be strong and courageous.
Oh. Was it 3? Was it?
So
it's actually 75 times.
Yes. Joshua is told to be strong and courageous 4 times.
Oh.
3 times by God and once by God's people. And then 3 more times Joshua is told that God is with him. And so I'm looking at dwelldifferently.com. There's an article that talks about courage on repeat, and it says why all this repetition, and they're just speculating Joshua needed it. We needed repetition too, in terms of giving us the courage and strength to live out the calling that God has for us. Like, we need to continue to hear that. Like, we are called to be bigger than ourselves, to be fishers of men, that kind of thing. So anyways, I thought that was interesting.
Which actually is a good segue to my takeaway of
wonderful.
I think probably most of you know that Jessica's giving me the thumbs up, I think.
I'm trying.
Yes, there it is. If you do the thumbs up on Zoom, if you do it correctly, it'll put the little thumbs up emoji on your screen, which is what Jessica just did. Anyway, so most of you probably know that I'm a huge Ted Lasso fan. And in, I think it's season 2, they bring along a sports therapist to kind of help the team grow. And one of the football players, his name is Colin Hughes, I think is his last name. And he gives him, and the therapist's name is Dr. Sharon Fieldstone. It's a take on, what's that movie? It doesn't matter. It's Sleepless in Seattle, but I can't remember what her name was. It's very similar. But anyway, they work on a mantra together, and he decides that his mantra is, I am a strong and capable man. And so that's kind of what be strong and be courageous felt like to me, that it was a mantra that God was giving to Joshua. And I think it's a good mantra for everybody, which leads me into Pastor Jim was talking about how, he came in to be the new pastor after the previous pastor was here for 24 years, and they didn't want it to be too much of a transition, like too difficult of a transition for the rest of the church. So that's why they went with another pastor named Jim. That's not true, but that's what I like to think. But I also, I came into the church around the same time Pastor Jim started being the pastor there. So I saw one sermon by former Pastor Jim 1.0. And then after that, it was Pastor Jim 2.0 from then on. So, but I took over Cynthia's job as children's ministry director, and she had been the director for 15 years before Lourdes and I showed up. Wow. And when Lourdes and I were first on the job, I refused to call myself a director. I think we were calling ourselves children's ministry coordinators, because director just seemed like too big and too scary of a word. And I think most of you don't know this, but the math, if you divide director by 2, that equals coordinator. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't. But I think that's what Lourdes and I...
4 quarters are 1 director.
Yep. And then there's the remainder, and then you add that.
Plus the square root of 6. And that is Beth and Lourdes, which minus Lourdes equals Beth.
Hey Beth, right. Is this an unintentional reference to Mean Girls? Because Katie was doing a lot of mathematical explanations.
My dogs are barking. Why, yes, it is an unintentional reference to Mean Girls. But unlike Katie, I am not good at math, so I wouldn't have to pretend to have a boy tutor me. But I digress. So I was thinking about how, Cynthia's shoes, she probably doesn't, her shoe size is probably similar to mine, but it felt so big just because she had been there forever. And also, Cynthia probably didn't think as a child, man, when I grow up, I want to be children's ministry director of a Methodist church. And neither did I. And it never even occurred to me that this is something that I could even do until Pastor Jim, with Cynthia's blessing, I think was like, what about Beth and Lourdes? And I was like, I'll do it, but I don't want to do it by myself. I only want to do it if Lourdes is going to do it with me. And then she did for, I think, the first year. And then it's just been me. And it was really scary. Mm-hmm. And it still is scary at times. But also, I know I'm not going to be like what you said, Tim. I'm not going to be exactly like Cynthia was. And that's not to say that Cynthia wasn't a good director because she really was, but I'm not going to do things the way Cynthia did it because I'm not Cynthia. So I need to put my own spin on it and my own take on it. And I didn't even make this connection until tonight when I was watching the sermon again. But at staff meeting, when Pastor Jim was reading the passage, it said, be strong and courageous, be strong and courageous. And so be strong and courageous, because it was 3 times. And so
yes.
when he was done reading the passage and he was asking for our feedback, I was like, so I think God wants Joshua to be strong and courageous. And then I actually printed this out on my computer. It's the Bible verse that I've been having the kids learn in Sunday school for the past 3 weeks. And the Sunday school curriculum that I've been doing, there's usually one Bible verse that the kids have like 4 weeks to learn. And if they can recite it without me, if they can recite it on their own, then I'll give them a prize. I've been getting like just little knickknacks, little toys, sensory things from Five Below. And I have a basket of those. And if they can say the Bible verse by memory, they have the opportunity to earn one of the prizes from the Five Below. And this verse is 1 Corinthians 16:13. And it is, be on your guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong. So I think I didn't make the connection because they listed courageous before strong. But I was like, whoa, it's basically the same. And
that is so cool.
And then when you were talking about how you Jessica haven't picked up the Bible in a week, when I was reading this as you were talking about what you've been going through, I was like, this is for Jessica. This is a verse for Jessica. Be on your guard, stand firm in the faith,
wow.
Be courageous, be strong. So that's all I have for my family.
Love it.
That is so nice. I'm glad you mentioned the mantras thing, Beth, because, and then like how you have the Sunday school kids memorizing scripture, because that reminds me pretty saliently about how I mentioned about the counting meditation last week, and I'm like, maybe that would be a lead into like my repeating scripture instead of repeating numbers. And so that's like a really good reminder for me to go into the Bible and find like my favorite scriptures that I want to repeat to myself. So that's really nice. Wow.
I didn't tell you this last week, Tim, but I'm going to tell you this week. Meditating by counting stresses me out so much.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that supposed to help with like panic attacks? You can count down 10.
Maybe, and here's why it stresses me out. It's because sometimes I have insomnia and I can't sleep, and they'll say that, if you just count down backwards from 100, like you'll go to sleep before you even hit 1. But what happens with me is like, I'll just start counting down in my brain. And then I start getting closer to 1. And I'm like, I'm not falling asleep yet. I'm not falling asleep yet. This isn't working.
That makes sense.
I just put myself into like a panic that I've created with my own mind. And it doesn't help me sleep. It just stresses me out more. So when you were like, I'm going to use numbers, I was like, nope, can't do it. Not going to do it. Oh.
Well,
but that does. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll say this really quick. That's a testament that you're not Tim, and I'm not.
I am not Tim. Right? That is correct.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and one thing I was going to talk about before in the sermon feedback, but I forgot, was I have a Zoom meeting with my therapist every 2 weeks on Thursdays. And so last Thursday I had my appointment, and she was asking me how it was going and if I had any goals for myself, and, all the things therapists ask. And I decided that Pastor Jim was talking about your inner monologue, and you say, "Oh, I can't do this. I'm bad at everything." Blah 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 blah. And
Right.
and I'm guilty of that. But I was thinking, Tim, if you said that, Jessica, if you said that, I would be so. I wouldn't tolerate that talk from you guys. I would be like, you guys are my friends, and you should be nicer to yourselves because of all of the reasons. And then I decided that if I'm not going to tolerate that kind of talk about my friends, why would I tolerate that from me? I've decided I'm going to be my own friend and try
or
to
you just start tolerating when other people say bad things about themselves. And then you're like, whatever, dude, I feel the same way.
I don't need your friendship. I'm my own friend now. Just kidding.
No, I like that. I like that you're doing that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think that's a really healthy, actually kind of different approach to considering what I was saying earlier about kind of not really so much moderating the inner monologue and then just doing something, right? It's almost like two sides to the same coin. So I could actually learn from you on that, where I could probably have a lot more positive things to say about myself. And then I won't need to just jump the gun and start doing something right away. I could just be a lot more at peace with my thoughts and feelings, and maybe I'll explore that with the journaling. Now that we're talking about this, that's awesome.
I think that's half the battle is realizing that I'm not going to be the best at everything. I'm still going to struggle with a lot of things in life, and that's fine. My whole thing is I need to be okay with that. I need to realize that it's okay that I'm not going to have everything figured out, or I'm not going to be the best at everything, and that I'm still going to need help from people. I think that's the whole thing, is just accepting yourself, still trying to better yourself, but also accepting yourself for who you are instead of trying to change into a different person.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And accepting the thinking about myself here, accepting myself and then doing something and not just being so caught up in my thoughts and just feeling like I'm immobilized or something like that. And so then the strong and courageous really comes into my life. So the way to not be immobilized or disempowered is to be strong and courageous. So that really kind of speaks to me now, actually, in a more significant light. That's very fascinating.
Yeah. And isn't it cool that you can get in a group with two other people and we don't have everything figured out, but we can offer each other different perspectives that we might not have thought of before.
That's amazing. Cool.
But there was one requirement. You must have ADHD in order to be for the show.
You don't have to have ADHD, but it does help.
It does. It helps when we go on tangents and you don't even realize it. So
It's so interesting.
Tim, I'm actually curious if you have any life hacks for us today.
Let me see what I have here for this podcast episode. Both of you occupy yourselves with some sort of sentences while I find a life hack for us.
In other words, talk amongst yourselves.
All right, let's go ahead and start the wave in this theater here. People on the left, will you please raise up and we'll...
Won't the real Slim Shady
please stand up?
You're testing out the wave. That was very sufficient for the time that we needed. So let's see here. What we got for today is, today, many of the people listening perhaps had Martin Luther King Jr. Day off. And so I can say for sure that that's really great that we're celebrating that here today. But because people had it off, maybe they weren't thinking about work or anything like that. I do have a work-related thing, though, that I have to bring up. Starting a new job you have to commute for. test drive the route a few days prior to your first day of work to see what the traffic is like. Then add 20 minutes to that so you're nice and early on your first day.
Nice. That's a good life hack.
Yeah, and that's like actually a good kind of weekly life hack because you never know like what's going on. It could be weather. There could be an unexplained traffic situation. So you might want to tune into the news or something like that be to commuting.
Yes.
So
like if the president's going to be in town and you're going to walk away. Probably best to not go. Or
right.
Get one of those Lime scooters.
That's why I stayed home today in case the president was in town and there was going to be a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Wow.
That'll be my new excuse if I don't want to go to work. The president's going to be in town. They're not going to be here for another 3 months. I guess I won't be going anywhere for 3 months. Don't want to interrupt the Secret Service from planning.
No, definitely not. You don't want to add one more car to that scene. Might cause an interruption.
Yes. Have you guys ever done that before where you drove somewhere before the actual appointment to make sure that you knew where it was?
Yep.
I don't think I've ever done that.
I have. I don't do it very often, but if it's causing me a lot of anxiety and I don't want, or if like someone is going to be in the car with me and I don't want to look stupid in front of them or something, I'll do it just so I don't know. Yeah, I've done it. I don't do it very often, but I have done it.
Yeah.
I can't recall any time that I've done that because any time that I'm thinking that I want to go early to something, my second brain, maybe that's my ADHD brain talking to my non-ADHD brain,
it's exactly
is saying, oh, actually, you don't have to be there early. Mm-hmm. This is just in case kind of time. The actual time that you need to be there is this time. So here, go ahead and feel happier associated with the early time. But no, needless to say, I've not went early to a place, probably based on that logic.
I think that your ADHD brain's name is called Carl. I just have this feeling that's
Sleepy Carl.
Yeah.
Carl.
There's a whole Mike Birbiglia bit about how there's two parts of his brain, and the part of his brain that likes sleep is Sleepy Carl, and he's supposed to get up early. His brain is like, why would you get up early when you could go skiing on skis that are made out of French toast sticks? And Sleepy Carl.
Yeah, that happens a lot with anyway, I was just about to go into what I did today, but we are on our way to
that was great.
Prayer feedback.
Hey, Jessica, if you had gone on your way to that story, Beth and I would have been attentively listening to that.
I'm so excited to hear about all the things I've done.
But then we would have been like, that reminds me of the time when I blah, 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 blah. It's a rabbit hole we don't have time for right now.
We're just going to let everybody guess what I did all day today. Anyways, so for prayer requests, I'm curious, Beth, if there's anything in particular that you've got prayer requests?
Yes, thank you. Well, my Owen starts school tomorrow. And my friend's son is also starting school tomorrow, but he was previously doing a boarding school in LA where he would go during the week and then he would come home on the weekends. But now he's starting school tomorrow at the same school that Owen goes to now, because they moved. They're like 10 minutes away from us now.
Nice.
And so I think my friend is a little nervous about it. It's my friend Marlene. You guys, she helped with BDS.
Oh, yeah.
Mentioned her.
Her son Keith is going, but the registration is all weird. Like they have to go tomorrow and be there at 8:00, and then they have to wait in a line, and then he gets registered for all of his classes. And so I think she's a little bit nervous about that. And also Keith has previously been at like charter schools with much smaller class sizes. And so just prayers that both of them have a good day tomorrow, and prayers that Owen has a good day too while we're at it, you know.
Yeah.
And also one of it's not one of our childcare workers, Delilah. I know she's going through some tough family stuff right now. So if we could have some prayers for Delilah and her family, that would be great too. That's all I got.
Yeah, absolutely, Beth. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Carl?
So I could use a prayer to go for my my new endeavor. Not really new. It feels new to me now. The reading and writing endeavor. So in other words, instead of spending time on the internet, like internet surfing, and instead of playing some video game or watching some show or something, just engage myself with reading, and also writing more, whether it's texting friends or journal writing. I think all of that would help me. I think it would help me communicate better just as a whole, like in person, or writing. And there's so much writing that we have to do in today's world, especially like emails and things like that for like any sort of like business related endeavor, that just having that in my wheelhouse would be great. And actually, I don't want to make this a huge aside. Maybe I'll make this an aside for next episode. My ultimate goal, and I'd forgotten about this for a really long time, was by increasing my reading and writing, eventually I think that maybe I would want to write a book or something, like an actual novel, like a novella or novel, because I've had a lot of different like creative ideas for like what I would want to explore, like psychologically or philosophically, in a fiction book in particular. Like a nonfiction book, just I think there's better writers out there as far as like nonfiction is concerned, because but fiction, I think maybe with my unique kind of like perspective, I can actually create something cool. So prayer for me to keep going on the reading and writing, and also a prayer for everybody that either does or does not have a New Year's resolution. Like this is like a big like thing where we're in 2024. I'm sure there's lots of people that are still writing 2023 on accident and then being like, oh gosh, I wrote 2023. Just I guess prayers for everybody that needs one in this year starting out.
Yeah. Jessica.
Oh my gosh, guys, thanks so much for asking.
My New Year's resolution, which I think last week I said I didn't have one, is to remember to ask Jessica when she has a prayer request instead of all of us staring awkwardly at each other.
I just am going to just be silent until it is happening.
Yeah.
I'm not going to edit it out of the podcast at all. It's just going to be this complete silence. People are going to think there's technical difficulties with the audio player. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Tim, you know what would be cool is if you could write the story about the life of Carl and then have it somehow intertwine with like the psychological deepness and depth of ADHD in itself.
Oh, wow.
Like a trans.
Actually,
anyway,
that's really fascinating, actually.
Write what you know, Tim.
Yeah, best thing to do is write about what you know, and nobody knows you better than Carl.
That's what I've always said.
Anyways,
that's really interesting, though. Yeah, I'm not. That's I could say completely noted for Yes, completely noted. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Was that your prayer request, Jessica?
I'm praying that Tim will write a book about Carl. I think my prayer request is, a few things. One,
Cameo. Sorry, that's what it was called.
that's what it's called. Yes.
Sorry.
What?
Please continue. I'm so sorry.
Cameo. So we were talking earlier about when celebrities can do like a shout out.
Birthday messages for people. And
you can pay on Cameo, which is
like $200 for, I don't know.
Yeah.
Wait,
so
I'm still lost, but go ahead and continue.
We'll catch you up later. It's fine.
Yeah. I'll be paying John Stamos for a Cameo saying that he's the donor. But so for us, like, we're exploring new options of donors, and there's a particular individual that we have been in communication with that through an organization, like, they are like, it's like fresh donations versus frozen, which is what we've been using, which we feel like that's been the downfall and like the most difficult part. Plus a lot of the donor banks, I'm just going to be very candid because this is something I think a lot of people kind of experience. And for women who cannot get pregnant or have issues with their partner, getting them pregnant, then the option to go to a bank is they tend to split up a vial. A vial tends to be like 6 different vials for one individual, to put it lightly. I'll just be as PG as possible. But and then they charge couples for each vial. And so there's an organization that donors, they understand that, and they want to help couples to create families. And so, as I was saying, we found somebody, and we're hoping to meet them, which is new for us because we didn't think about that, like how that could potentially be. And we're actually kind of excited about that process, because then if that ends up being our donor and our child wants to meet them when they turn 18, we know that we know it's going to be a safe conversation.
Right.
So, whereas we didn't really think about that with somebody that we didn't know, and they're just like a number from a bank. So, so anyways, we're kind of excited about that. And the thought of like having a family is kind of back. Like, I'm kind of hopeful again with that. And so, just really hoping that we can make sure that God is always at the forefront of the decision making, and that we are, being smart about certain things, and trusting where God is leading us. And so, it could be crazy. Like next month, I could actually be trying again. And that's crazy to think about. It's almost like if I were to be on guard and like,
and you stand firm in the faith. Yeah.
Courageous, like. So anyways, so that's kind of cool. Like, that's really exciting to think about. And so, but then I also would like to pray for Amber, because she is going back to school tomorrow. She's been off for like 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
She remembers how to spell work. I think she'll have to use her Google Maps to get back to work. That's how long it's been. And, but she has thoroughly enjoyed her time off.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And so for her to go back, I know she kind of has a cough. That's another reason why we didn't go to church on Sunday, is because she's got a cough, which is silly because it just started happening. We haven't really gone anywhere. So anyways, but that's it. That's, those are my prayer requests. I can't think of anything else.
That's great. Thank you, Jessica. And I wanted to add something that opportunity that you have there with like getting a donor and like meeting your donor, that might actually introduce a really interesting like dynamic and make it all the more special instead of just getting an anonymous donation, but like actually knowing who your donor is. I think that's really interesting. And you could probably find out like especially if it's like the best like scenario where like you get along really well with your donor, then it could just be like a really positive experience. So I'm definitely praying for you that you have a good time with that, and that it works out really well.
Yeah. I mean, and not to be cold, but it is a transaction at the end of the day.
Yeah. Is that the goal? Like first you become pregnant and then Amber does later?
Yeah. So I'm older by like 2 years.
So your biological clock is ticking?
Correct. Speaking of biological terms, yes. So as a 36-year-old woman.
That's a geriatric pregnancy. That's what it's called.
Yes, it is. And I'm going to enter the hospital once I know I'm pregnant. Say, I'm sorry, I need a wheelchair. This is
fast forward.
They actually do make you leave the hospital in a wheelchair.
Yes, they do.
You have your baby.
Really?
They did with both of mine.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't request it. They just knew that I was an old lady inside, or that's hospital policy. It's either one of those. I'm not sure which. It's probably hospital policy.
Yeah. It is definitely, I think, one of those laws. But yes. So because I'm older, I wanted to at least carry once, you know?
Yeah.
And because I've always wanted to experience what that's like.
Mm-hmm.
And but then
that you don't get to, Tim.
Yeah, sorry, Tim. I know, unless your name is Arnold Schwarzenegger and
hey, one way
you knew what that movie was, but I know for sure you don't know that movie.
No, you know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is, Tim?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I always think about the Terminator movie, the I'll be back thing. Every time I say I'll be back, I always think about that movie. So wait, but there is one thing, and I'm sharing in this in the way of like being a listener, but also I think it's really fun to be on a wheelchair. Like it's kind of like an amusement park ride, like not really fast or anything like that, but one of those gentle rides, you know? So I was just imagining myself on a wheelchair.
Tim, I have one of those scooters where if you like break your foot or something, you can put your leg up and then just use it to like scoot around with your other leg. And I legit like took it from Miriam's house because she didn't have a use for it anymore. And I actually took it because I did think it would be fun to just ride that around. And I don't know what is wrong with me.
That's amazing.
Wow. I'm glad you shared that.
If you ever want to give that for a spin, Tim, just let me know. It's in my garage.
Oh, okay. That's really good to know. I may take you up on that.
Okay.
Cool.
Anyway, on that note.
That'll be how we
all of our talking points.
Yeah. That'll be how we end the podcast from now on. On that note.
Goodbye.
Well,
yeah, go ahead. I was just going to say, on that note, that'd be OTN. And before that, we came up with OTR for people who don't want us to read their emails. Instead of DNR, we use OTR, off the record.
Yeah.
So we could have OTN on that note for ending our episodes.
Yeah, I don't think that's a medical abbreviation.
Perfect. That's good. I don't want people to be offended now with.
Yeah. That's more so for like fisher people. They go out and they go OTN. Because they have to yell on the net.
Oh, interesting.
I just made that up, Tim.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
Legit. I heard that too.
Anyways.
All right.
I'm glad you both are doing well, and I'm excited to hear, next week any updates that occur, but I'm going to be hoping for good health for both of you. And Beth, I'm super excited about those chicken coasters. You have no idea.
Yeah, I told you before the podcast that I had 2 that left that I needed to weave the ends in, and I was able to finish that. So that will be all yours on Sunday.
Yay! I'm excited.
I'm gonna put them in my car right now just so I don't forget them.
Nice.
The time Sunday comes.
My neighbor doesn't know it, but we're gonna gift her 4 of those because I love our neighbor so much. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
Well, we hope that everyone has a good week, and we look forward to chatting with you next week.
Thank you for tuning in, everyone.
Be strong and courageous.
Different places, we all have different names. No matter what life brings us, Jesus is the same. We're just your Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness.